Hello guys, and welcome once again to my channel. If you have been here and if you haven't, it is so very kind of you to pass by. I hope that you hit that subscribe button, and if you are subscribed, make sure that you turn on that little bell so you get notified whenever I upload. So today's video is going to be episode, I cannot remember the number, but it's going to be a lifestyle all things homey episode, and I'm going to be DIYing this basket, and everything I use is from the Dollar Tree, which is so exciting for me, and I know that you love that too. So if you want to see how I did this, just keep on watching. Okay, so for this project I bought a plastic basket, I bought 8 ropes, and I bought 4 of these cloth things that are supposed to be for a car, but I ended up using only 3 of the cloths, and I ended up needing more rope, but I couldn't find any more. So I wish that I had at least 10 ropes, and I think I would have completed as much as I wanted to. If you want to cover the bottom of it, I think you'll need 12. I'm also going to be using some needle and thread, which you should already have at home, but if you don't, you can also find these at Dollar Tree. You'll also need some scissors, and to glue everything I started to use A6000, but I found that everything was taking way too long to dry, and I ended up switching to a hot glue gun, and that worked out perfectly. So if you do this project, just do everything with a hot glue gun. It's so much better, so much faster, so much easier. So let's just get into it. The very first thing that I'm going to be doing is taking 2 of the cloths and putting them together like one on top of each other, and I'm going to be sewing the edges of it, so the shorter side and not the longer side, because once these 2 are together, the size is going to be perfect to line the basket. That is what I got these for. I was actually looking for like a pillowcase or something, but they didn't have any in white, so I actually think I ended up winning because this looks just so cozy and just so much more fancy, I think. So basically I did that. As you can see here, I already did 1 of the sides, and I just measured around the basket. I thought I was going to need 3 of them, or like 2.5 or something, but these stretch out a little bit, so 2 ended up working perfectly. And now I'm just sewing the other side of it, and once I do that, it's going to look basically like a circle scarf, you know what I mean? And then I'm going to line the basket with this. The bottom of it is still going to be opened. I thought I was going to like cut half of another one and do it as like the bottom of the basket, but you'll see what I do later. But basically 2 ended up being perfect to line the basket. Now once I line the basket with this fabric, I'm going to kind of pull out the edges so that the top plastic part of the basket is covered by the fabric, and then I'm going to, like I said, I started using A6000 to glue this. It took forever, but I mean it worked because A6000 is a really good adhesive. It did work, but like I said, it just took so long, and I thought that I was going to go through too many sticks of the hot glue, which I did, but I mean it was worth it at the end because this would have taken me literally days do had I continued to use the A6000. So I'm just going to be gluing the edges of the fabric under the plastic handles of the entire basket. So like I said, this took forever to dry, so I just kind of stepped away for a while, let it dry, just, you know, let it be, give it some time, and then I came back to start gluing the rope. So the rope part is not hard at all because all you gotta do is like follow the lines, but it is so time consuming, especially if you use A6000 like I did for half of the basket. I mean, it took a lot of time, let's just say that. So I just started gluing the basket. I started from the very edge of where the fabric ends. As you can see here, I basically pushed the fabric in because I wanted it to be very secure, very sturdy, and that's what I did. But it took so much of the rope. I used 8 ropes like I mentioned before, but if I wanted to cover the whole thing, I would have needed 10, and if I wanted to cover the bottom like I originally thought I was going to be able to do, I think I would have needed 12. Then at this point is when I switched to the hot glue gun, so I just want to show you how to connect the continuing ropes. So basically I place a dot of the glue on the very tip of the rope, and then I kind of just stuck the other one right next to that. You have to hold it for a few seconds because it doesn't take long to dry at all, but just hold it very tightly for a few seconds and it's just going to look like it's a continuous rope. The other thing is that these ropes from the Dollar Tree have like a little tape on them at the ends that prevents it from fraying. I didn't remove them, so I have little spots that look kind of shiny because of the tape. If you want it to be completely perfect and look more natural, then make sure you remove that tape, but I actually didn't care and it doesn't look bad. You can't even see it, to be honest, but if you want it to be super perfect, then make sure that you do that. Now for this part of the basket where it's not just like solid plastic anymore, but you have holes or squares between the plastic, what you do is place a dot of glue right where the lines cross on the plastic, and then place another dot on the rope that is before the one you're doing, and that worked out perfectly for me. I didn't have to glue like every single inch of the rope. That was the method that I used and it worked out perfectly. So once I'm done gluing the whole thing, I'm just feeling for the rope and then cutting the fabric around that, making sure that I don't cut too much. It's better if you cut too little because you can just go back and trim it like I did, but just be careful not to cut too much. And then once I cut all that excess fabric, I realized that it was better to cut the lining from both ends of the fabric so that once I glue more fabric on the missing pieces or the missing sides, then the transition between those would be more seamless and it won't look like it's multiple patches of fabric, but just like it's continuous. Then once I'm ready to glue the rest of the fabric, I make sure to cut the lining before I start gluing, and also because the fabric does stretch a little bit and the size of the basket goes from smallest to biggest, then you have to cut the other fabric in a way that's angled so that you cover kind of like the missing patches of the other part of the fabric. I don't know if I make much sense, but as long as you watch the video, I think you should be fine. So I already glued the largest piece of fabric, and now I'm just doing the shorter piece to show you how I did that. So when you're gluing from bottom to top, make sure that you stretch the fabric so that it is smooth and seamless and you don't have any wrinkles or anything. I do have a little gap on the side, but I'll stretch out the other part of the fabric and it'll be okay. You'll see what I mean. Like I haven't really glued the edges of it yet, and that's why you see a little gap. So I'll just glue from top to bottom or from bottom to top all the way through, and then once I'm done doing that, I'm just going to cut out all the excess fabric, and then I'll just glue bits and pieces here and there if I see that they're fraying out, but mostly if you see any little hairs taken out, you can just push them under the rope. I was like, what's that called? Under the rope and through the holes of the basket, and it looks perfect. You don't even have to do much more than that. Also, if you have little pieces of the fabric where you see holes or that you see that you cut too much, you can just go back and use some of the fabric that you cut out and just glue pieces of it, and it looks super natural as long as you don't have any lining and also none of like the harsh part of the fabric, if you know what I mean. Okay, so once I removed all the excess fabric and also cleaned up around the basket with a lint roller, because honestly there was no other way, I'm just going to be gluing the bottom of the fabric together to just close it. You can also just sew this, but I already had the glue gun out. It was hot already, so I just kind of finished it this way, and once you do that, you're completely done. The fabric right now doesn't look perfect and it doesn't cover the whole bottom of the fabric, but since it is stretchy, I am confident that as you put things in, it's going to just stretch out and end up being perfect. And honestly, it doesn't even look bad at this point anyway, so I'm fine with this. If you wanted to cut out like a circle of the fabric and line it perfectly, you can go ahead and do that, but I thought it was too much work and unnecessary. You can use this basket for anything from toys to blankets to pillows to whatever you want. Honestly, I'm personally using it in my bedroom because we don't have space for like a chair in the room or a bench or anything, so we always end up putting like the cushions and the blanket, you know, like the decorative things, like on top of the dresser, and it takes too much space at night. Sometimes it blocks the TV, not that we use it anyway, but you know what I mean. So I thought that this would be perfect. Just put the blanket and the cushions or my pillows at the end of the night in that basket, and it looks beautiful right next to the dresser. It's a decorative piece as well. It's just, I think it's lovely. I love it, and I love how it turned out and how easy it was, and also how inexpensive it was. I ended up using $12 exactly, but I would have used 14 or maybe 16, which is still pretty awesome considering that these baskets can go from like $30 to God knows how much, but this was only $12, so I love it. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart, and I thank you so much for watching. And yeah, make sure that you subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye.